What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Geekery, the place where we feed your inner geek. My name is Dre.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Patrick.
And today we have a very special double-stuffed spoiler cast as we talk about Captain America: Civil War.
Team Cap.
Whoa, already getting it out there.
Double stuffed.
Double stuffed. It might take us a while to talk about this. So,
I'm fine.
it's a spoiler cast. We're going to be talking about spoilers, but Patrick has not seen Captain America: Civil War.
That's true.
But you don't want it spoiled, right?
No, I wanted to be here, but I don't want it spoiled.
So what are you going to do instead?
So I'm going to be listening and taking arduous notes on the brand new Drake album the entire time, which I've heard isn't good so far. So it'll be fun.
So you'll be giving us your spoilers of the Drake album.
Yeah,
While we're
spoilers, it's
talking.
terrible.
Oh.
I'm just making assumptions here. So I apologize for talking over you guys because I won't be able to hear you.
I'm excited. It's gonna be.
I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be awesome. So you guys
So-
want to get started?
Yeah. So fan of the show, Drake. So again, spoilers. Don't blame us. And scene. All right, Haley.
Yes.
So overall, what was your impression of this movie?
Okay. Overall, I mean, as a Marvel movie,
Mhm.
I loved it. It was really fun. We had. It was almost like Avengers 2.0.
Kind of,
It feels
yeah,
like, you know, because
yeah.
everybody was there except Thor and Hulk.
So it's just wind. It's 20 seconds of just wind.
So, and it was great. It was what I wanted Batman vs Superman to be.
Okay.
It made a lot more sense. However,
Okay.
my one caveat is being the true Marvel nerd
Mhm.
that I am,
Mhm.
having
There he is.
read
Sorry.
the Civil War comic.
Uh-huh.
I didn't like the ending of the Civil War movie. There were some things that
Like, did you want, like in the comic book, Captain America gets assassinated. Is that what you
Well,
wanted?
no, he does not in that. He doesn't get assassinated.
He gets arrested.
He's surrendered.
You know?
So
Yeah.
what I loved about the ending of the comic
Mhm.
is that they really were fighting
Yeah.
each other, and
Yeah.
it reaches this like escalation
Mhm.
of Cap realizing, oh my gosh, we are not fighting for people
Mm.
anymore. This really has become this gladiator
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah.
Keep going. It's fine.
and he like lays his shield down.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just so powerful, and we didn't get to see in the movie the destruction of what would have happened. So like we got to see Iron Man's point of view of like letting things go, but we kind of got Cap's when Iron Man was like, we gotta go, and the guy was like, no, we can't because you blah blah blah. But it's terrible. I would have loved to see some death and destruction from not allowing the Avengers to do their job. That didn't happen. So those were some of the things I was disappointed with. Overall, though, loved it.
Yeah, I agree. Overall, I thought this was a just amazing movie. Probably my second favorite Avengers movie.
Here come the drums.
Here come the drums. Probably my second favorite Avengers movie. I think one of the things I loved about this movie is that it kind of exemplified the Marvel plan in the sense of this movie couldn't have been as good as it was without 8 years worth of movies.
Agreed.
And actually, one thing in the movie that I loved was how they acknowledged the real world timeline. That it's
That's a bad word.
So I love that they acknowledge it's been 8 years since Tony Stark first became Iron Man. That they hadn't seen the Winter Soldier in 2 years. I like that it added depth to it. And it's kind of like if you go back to our spoiler cast, plug for Batman v Superman, we talk about what that was missing years of exposition. And so this had it. I thought it was great. There were things that were just unexpected. I loved how you thought they reveal that there are multiple Winter Soldiers.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Which I kind of wanted to see them.
But I love that they changed it. You know, I love that you were expecting this fight between all of them and these Winter Soldiers, and it's not. And he gives you, Zemo, the villain, gives you a reason why. It felt like the villain, it was just different.
Yeah.
I liked it, but to kind of counter your point a little bit, because one of the things the Marvel movies have that's very different from the DC movies is there's still a hopeful tone.
Right.
And I like that the movie ended with the Avengers still broken. like in shambles, you know, and in big ways. But that letter Steve writes to Tony, and even the phone, it still like is hopeful, you know. The other Avengers, like so, like what I liked about Marvel, I heard somebody, I think Jeff Kanata made this comparison that Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, millions of people die. In this one, the Avengers feel the weight of like 18 people dying when the Scarlet Witch makes that mistake, and I like that. I like that lives matter to them. So let me ask you this: what did you then think of the central conflict? You know, so it started with the whole reason why there's Team Cap, which you're on, and Team Iron Man, which I'm on, which is the winning team.
Captain America.
Oh my gosh, there's still another minute of the song. I'm on the first track.
Oh wow.
Have you finished talking about the movie? Because it feels like forever. It's wild.
So the central conflict is like the Sokovia Accords.
Right.
So it starts with the General Ross. It starts with that accident that happens where the Wakandans get killed because of Cap and the Scarlet Witch. And so it becomes now that the government, or a UN type of government, wants to hold him. Tony is on the pro side. Steve is on the... How did you feel about the central conflict?
So the central conflict I really liked. And that was something that I felt... Because in the comic, it's like this group of like teen...
Yeah, these teen superheroes.
That they like accidentally blow something up.
Well, they blow up in elementary.
That's right. So it was really
5:15.
Jeez.
Wow.
Intro track.
That's a long...
All wind.
Garbage.
All
which is devastating. But what I liked was that it was one of their own doing it, so they have to suffer those repercussions. I would have liked with Scarlet Witch maybe why she, not just that like her powers are so big and she doesn't know how to control. Yeah. But we didn't address the subject of her brother's death. Like she's probably still grieving. Yeah. So there is the loss of her homeland. Yes. Pat. So there's the loss of her homeland, but also the loss of her brother. So I think that could have played more in the destruction. But overall, that like, okay, these people died very publicly. It was filmed. How do we go about this? I loved that. I loved how they set it up.
I like that it also tied into all the Marvel movies beforehand. You know, when General Ross is like New York, you know, Sokovia, Washington, D.C. But I think what I liked about the central conflict is I felt that, whether you agreed or disagreed, that you could see where Tony and Steve were both coming from. Yeah. And that I really like, because one of my criticisms with the Civil War comic book is that after a while, they kind of just played Iron Man as a straight villain. Like there was no sympathy for Iron Man. To where this, there was
see his point of view.
Well, it was also the progression of Tony Stark's character that Iron Man 3, he's suffering from post-traumatic stress because of what's happening. He's carrying this guilt that he can't protect everybody. Age of Ultron, that continues to go on. This, where that woman confronts him at MIT and she's like, "You murdered my son," type thing. You see this character is like racked with guilt. And so he wants to protect and be a good guy. So you kind of feel that as you go in. So I thought there was good reasons. And I think what I liked was there were nuances. You know, there's that one scene after the whole Black Panther chase when they captured the Winter Soldier.
Oh, gosh. Okay, that was so good.
There's that one scene when Tony...
Hold on. There's a gap in the music. I don't want to be able to hear you. We're back. Sorry, I heard something about Captain America. I freaked out. Is he in this movie?
Yes. Spoilers! Spoilers! What do you want?
It's called Civil War. I assume north, south. I don't know.
But I like that there was nuance in that scene when Tony, you know, when they have the pen, like you can see Steve being almost willing to compromise. Yeah. And you see Tony even like, I don't love this, but documents could be amended. Like he wasn't so hard-nosed about it.
Which I like because it was showing that they both do really care about each other. Yeah. And they both, like this isn't an easy thing. And I love that you could logically see both sides of the argument. The one thing, though, that, well, maybe you haven't gotten that far yet, but it was like when Bucky becomes...
Yeah, and actually, so the central conflict starts with the Sokovia Accords. Right. And then there was a point when Tony believes that in what Steve said about Bucky, they're now on the same team, and then Zemo's plan is to show them that Bucky murdered Tony's parents.
Right.
So that was a twist in the conflict, you know? And so it was interesting because at that point, it's like, well, the Avengers are back together.
Sorry.
But then they got... So what did you feel about that twist?
I loved how they brought Bucky in.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. The only thing is, though, and I've talked to a couple people about it.
Yeah.
If Steve and Tony are as close as they are, there's that line where he says, well, we can't talk to Tony anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I feel like they probably still could. Like, if Steve was like, hey, let's talk this out, I feel like Tony would have been able to listen, but there may have been conflict now that he'd already signed the paper. So that could have been a more interesting thing, but to say that they, like, can't have their friendship work anymore, I thought that was a little... but I do love... Because it goes to what Cap is saying. He fights for everyone, but he's also willing to risk it for just that one person.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I want good and truth to overcome overall, which is why I am Team Cap.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I think it's a strategy. If you make your first song terrible, the second one sounds better in comparison. It was still bad, though. There's 45 seconds of wind at the end of the second song.
Really?
It's a
They
theme.
like the wind. But I think...
Oh, phone call. Not for me. It's on the third song. It might just be a phone call. I'll let you know.
I think what I like about the twist of Bucky having murdered
hold on.
Stark and his wife
Hold on.
is...
hold on. I can kind of hear you.
Brain freeze it.
It's
Brain freeze
literally
it.
just a phone call happening right now, so I can hear you. Okay, we're back. Go ahead.
I think what I liked with that was, to me anyways, and even though I'm Team Iron Man, like, there's no way Steve was in the right with it.
No, yeah.
And I like that because, again, it's not Iron Man being the straight villain. You know, it's like, there's no way Steve was in the right.
And
even Steve, and I think that gave some, like, what I loved about that closing fight was it was so visceral. I like that it was so, like, he's going to murder the Winter Soldier. It's just visceral.
Or Cap at that point, too.
And I like that when Cap walks away, and even, like, you know, at the end, they had beat down, like, Cap just lays there, and Iron Man is still mad. I like that they didn't resolve her. He's like, you don't deserve that shield. My father made that shield. He drops the shield.
He's like, fine.
And I like that twist because I like that in one sense, they kind of evolved. And to me, the whole movie made the Winter Soldier such a cool character. Like, and I loved him in his movie, but I thought this added so much, like...
So much depth to him. So I agree. I loved that final fight. And what was fun is, knowing the comic, there were certain points that I was like, okay, I see what you're doing. And then we reached a point where Tony was kind of on Cap's side, and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, but wait, they're fighting in the preview, so, like, what goes on? And I did really love that fight. I did not see the twist of Bucky being the one to kill his parents, but I also love when Tony said, do you remember them? And he says, I remember everyone.
Yeah, and I like that.
The pain in him.
Bucky is kind of like the Wolverine of the Marvel Universe because, like, the former assassin with that. So let's talk through some of the new characters introduced. Let's get your thoughts. So what about the Black Panther? We got introduced. What'd you like about the Black Panther?
Okay, his suit, like, is just super cool, and his claws and how he's just run. What is there not to like about the Black Panther? Should be the better question.
I think, you know what I liked about it is the movie was stuffed, but I thought they juggled a lot very well, and I felt like you got a little bit of T'Challa's backstory. You kind of understood his motivation. You understand him. But I feel like, if anything, now I'm really excited for his movie. You know, does that make sense? Like, I'm really excited for his movie. But I feel like, you understood, like, he could fight, he's got this cool suit,
and
honor.
I liked what was happening with him and Bucky, both, like, Bucky's arm and his suit being made of the same. There was something weird happening every time. So I'm interested to see what happens there, and especially...
That good, Patrick?
I'm so bored!
Especially since Bucky is now with him. What's that going to look like? Is he going to be part of Bucky's rehabilitation? Teaching him how to use this weapon inside of him better? I'm excited.
I think he's a good example of what Marvel does really well is they take characters that may not be super mainstream to people and they make you love them.
Totally.
So, second introduced character, Spider-Man.
Okay.
What did you...
Well, I know Spidey's your favorite.
But, tell me, like, so we got introduced to the Marvel Universe, Peter Parker, and Spider-Man.
Okay, there's so many things that I loved about Spider-Man.
Okay, what did you love about Spider-Man?
One, I love that we, unlike Batman, where it's like, okay, we had to watch your parents die yet again. Here, it's like, we're dropped into the middle.
Yeah.
Uncle Ben's already passed. He's had his powers for a while, which is great because it's like, okay, the fans know the story. Here's a very young Peter, an actual high school Peter, who is so quippy and witty.
And he's awkward.
And he's awkward.
He's socially awkward, which I love.
But he just has that, like, I want to do good, I want to be great. And but him being in awe of, like, all these people he's looked up to and, like, I'm getting to fight with you guys. I don't want to hurt you, but this is really cool. And I'm getting to actually flex my muscles. And I am excited to see how this Spider-Man develops, having Tony as his mentor. Because we're used to, like, the poor Peter Parker. But it's like Tony's the one who gave him his suit. Tony's the one who's kind of funding him. And so it'll be interesting to see how this Peter Parker develops. I loved him. I was so excited.
This is the Spider-Man I've wanted to see on screen since Iron Man. You know, this is the Marvel, like, he's a teenager. And he's awkward, but he's funny, but he's sweet, and he kind of tells his origin without saying anything, like, in that. But, like, the idea that, like, one, they nailed his power set. Again, with that, like, you can see his spider sense kicking, but he never says, like, oh, my spider sense, you know? I love that he's just in awe of what's going on. I love that interaction between him and Captain America. When Spider-Man's holding the thing, and he's like, you've got heart, kid. He's like, where are you from? He's like, Queens. I love that the after credit scene when he's talking to Aunt May. Who, I love that it's Marissa Tomei.
Now we're talking.
I've heard some people be like, well, Aunt May's supposed to be, like, old and a grandma. And I'm like, I don't mind.
Marissa Tomei looks great. She's 50.
She's not, I know, I was like, she could.
But I love that he's like, you should have seen him, like, his name was Steve, and his friend was huge.
Ant-Man.
So, going on from that, let's talk about, probably the greatest. This movie had a lot of great sequences. You know, that Winter Soldier chase. But let's talk about
when Bucky grabs the motorcycle and swings it, I was like, done.
Even like the beginning sequence with Crossbones was awesome. But let's talk about the airport sequence. What did you think about the airport sequence?
It was so good. I loved Hawkeye and Black Widow coming at each other. And he's like, we're still friends though, right? And she's like, And then is it Scarlet Witch that's like, you're holding punches?
Yes, she's talking to him. You're pulling your punches.
And I just loved it because you could tell, it's like, they've probably all sparred together before in like training, so you really do know everybody's moves. And I love that, like, Tony had told Spider-Man, he's like, he told me to go for your legs to Cap. So it's like everybody knows everybody, so there isn't any surprises until Ant-Man.
That like surprised me when he becomes Giant Man.
But it was. What I loved about it was there was this, we're trying to fight for what's right now. But I love the people I'm fighting against. I don't know how to approach it. So it wasn't your typical huge fight scene of like, any stops, not holding any punches, gonna like, just destroy. It's like, oh crap, we just like destroyed a plane or we're, and it's like, I don't want to be doing that. I don't want you to keep, but I want to make sure my point is getting across. So I love that they were like, dancing around each other.
It was,
really.
You know, I agree. I thought, like, in terms of just action movies in general, this is one of the best sequences I've ever seen. And I think what I liked about it, kudos to the directors, the Russo brothers, because, like, every character and their power set got a chance to shine. They got to interact with different characters, like you said, from Scarlet Witch saving Bucky's life, from Ant-Man having, throwing the tanker truck, from Spider-Man, fighting the Winter Soldier and the Falcon, and they still kept the Marvel levity, when the Falcon and the Winter Soldier are webbed to the ground, and he's like, I hate you.
Yeah, he's like, you couldn't have done that sooner.
I
loved Bucky and
the Winter Soldier and
Falcon's relationship. I love Steve more. I love Steve
But I also like that they extended it, but like you said, like, it didn't feel like this was dark and dreary. It didn't feel like angry. But I also like that it had like a sense of loss when that accident happened with War Machine.
I thought he was dead, for sure.
And I like that there's this sense of, again, it just took one person falling for you to feel this sense of loss. And you feel Tony's heart in that, and I like that they did, again, if it was a DC movie, I feel like this bad, like they would have ripped his head off or something. I like that he was...
Outros are so long.
But
You can do
Bad
it.
manners.
But I also think like they like were able to tone down like there's a, like the Vision's power set for you to feel like okay, he's not just coming in all godlike.
What did you think about Vision and Scarlet Witch's kind of romance that was
I like that
happening?
it's kind of humanizing it, but I would like it to be a little more of a slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I like that it humanized Vision a little bit.
Yeah.
And I like that without having her brother, it gave her a character to interact with. And
Again, would have liked the grief to be
yeah,
with,
but then
anyway.
it's also been 2 years, you know, in the timeline. So, but that sequence,
Right.
one, like I wondered going in, how is Ant-Man going to hang with everybody? And Paul Rudd was just funny.
Okay, his intro is
Yeah.
like, I have been shaking your hand for way too long. Like,
I mean, when he's like, "Hey, I know you. You're great," you know.
well,
Like,
and that's what I love because Civil War it's a completely different tone than
Yeah.
even the Avengers
Yeah.
movies because this is Cap's universe.
yeah,
But everyone maintained their voice so
Yes.
well, which is something that I think Marvel does great, is that
Mhm.
they don't try to shoehorn, okay, we
Yeah.
gotta fit this character into
Yeah.
this universe, so let's make them sound like they're part.
Yeah.
It's like, no,
Yeah.
bring the character
Yeah.
and all their glory
Yeah.
in, and I thought that happened.
they did that really,
Really
really
well.
well. So final question then, Haley.
Mhm.
Where do they go from here? We basically have 2 Avenger teams.
Mhm.
Cap and Iron Man are still on the outs, but Cap has kind of been like, if you need me, this is, you know, Infinity War is
Right.
coming. Where do we go from here?
Well, I don't think we necessarily do have 2
Mhm.
Avenger teams because by the end of it, the real conflict with Tony, he could see Cap's point of view and was realizing
Mhm.
this isn't right, and he
That
goes
was
to
with the
save him.
Sokovia Accords,
Right.
but that was before the Winter
That was
Soldier
before
twist,
Winter
you
Soldier.
know?
So I think
And it's that heartbreaking thing. It's like, Tony, I'm sorry, he's my friend. And Tony's like, well, so was I, you know?
so. I think I don't know if we necessarily have 2 teams. There's
Mm.
going to be more conflict to resolve. I'll be
Yeah.
interested to see how that goes down. I don't know, and I'm
Yeah.
excited that I don't know what's
Yeah.
happening. Again, unlike you, I would have liked it to be just a tad darker.
Mm.
I feel like we have reached a point
Yeah.
where we've earned that as fans,
Yeah.
that we could have gone just a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
further, and it could have left us a little more like,
Yeah.
oh. I realize that maybe they're saving that for like Infinity War.
Yeah.
But I feel like we could have started down that path a little.
Yeah, I get that. My guess for Infinity War is that there's still going to be like, I do think we have kind of like a Secret Avengers and a mainline Avengers.
Mhm.
My guess, so lock it in here. My guess is I feel like they're going to be like apart as this conflict with Thanos and the Infinity
Mhm.
Gauntlet starts. And then my guess is that the end of the first one is going to require them to have to put everything aside.
Mhm.
I can almost envision like Tony handing Steve back his shield
Yeah.
and them saying something like Avengers Assemble, and that the movie ends, and then they have to go to the next one because it's basically they have to fight God, so they need everybody.
Right.
The Guardians, they need all that.
Which that'll be fun.
That'll
getting
be
all of them in
great.
there.
Black Panther, you know, everybody coming back. But I loved it. I think you could
I
tell
loved
we were
it.
really high. So
Hold on, one other thing.
yeah,
That kiss between Cap and Shannon.
Well, hold on,
Shannon.
hold on. It's quiet. It's more wind. I kid you not. The end of every song is about 30 to 45 seconds of wind. And I can hear you. Hold on. You guys are doing great.
just turn the wind up. Just turn the wind up.
Do you hear it?
It's just wind.
This is wind.
It's just wind.
No, it's going to be really loud. You can go. It's good.
I thought that kiss was so awkward. It was so like forced
Whoa!
and terrible.
That was so loud.
I don't think they have any chemistry, and that makes me so frustrated.
I just don't think we've seen enough.
Right, but it was awkward.
But I'm glad they didn't like focus a lot on this romantic.
I'm glad,
stuff,
but it
you
felt
know?
too. It was like you don't
Yeah.
need to do that yet. I don't know. That was my other like really. Although Bucky and Falcon's reaction in the car
was
hilarious. But I was like, I don't believe Cap and Shannon.
Sharon
Sharon is
Carter.
what I mean.
Yeah,
Sharon.
Carter.
I should know that.
I think
My
we
bad.
need to see more. But anyways, we're up on
Anyways.
this movie. What do you think? Sound off in the comments. What team were you on and why?
Captain America.
Team Iron Man. How did you feel about the central conflict? Where do you think we go from here? Sound off in the comments below. Follow us on @OfficialGeekery on most social media, and we'll see you. Final word on the Drake album?
What?
Final word on the Drake album?
I'm 6 songs in.
Okay, and?
I'm so happy to be done.
Alright, well, we'll see you next time on The Geekery.
You pointed.